Final Four is set. If you don't know who's playing, I'm going to tell you. Spoiler alert here.
Everyone, be careful. If you got those games on DVR.
Yeah. Maybe you were out enjoying the weather over the weekend.
I TiVoed them.
You TiVoed them, and you haven't watched them yet. We're going to get NC State, Purdue, Saturday at 3. I mean...
You get the bigs. Come on.
I do.
You get
yeah.
Zach
It's a
Edey
9.5 point spread, I think.
You get,
It's an interesting matchup.
I'm interested because you got 7'3" Edey, who just player of the year, this dominant guy, and then you got Burns, who's 6'8", 340, and he'll throw his big ass down there. I'm interested in that. I can't say it's the sexiest matchup of all time, but I actually think it's more interesting than the other game.
And then closer to 6 on Saturday, we'll get Alabama, UConn.
I mean, no offense to Alabama, but right now it appears that no one is sniffing UConn. And I don't think Alabama's going to be any different. I feel like UConn's going to bludgeon them. So believe it or not, if I had to watch one, it's not that. I mean, UConn, I tried watching the first half of UConn in Illinois, and it was so ugly. And then, I blinked, and when I switched back over to the game, they were up by 20. I was like, oh my God, they went on a 30-0 run.
I honestly flipped it over at halftime when it was like a 5-point game. I'm like, I'll come back, and I was late getting back. I turn it on, it's like 12 minutes left in the game, and it's a 30-point game.
I can't really compute what UConn is doing. As a fan of a program who is at the top of college basketball in recruiting and has won multiple titles, it cannot be this easy. It just can't.
Apparently it can.
No, it can't. I don't understand.
Well, they're about to go back-to-back for the first time since Florida.
With ease, apparently.
And last year, they were like a 3 or a 4 seed, and no one saw them coming, and they ran roughshod through everybody. And now they got it's an okay team. I guess they got one guy that's supposed to be like a top 10 or 12 pick, another guy that's a borderline first-round pick, and then a couple transfers. They got a big goon center in the middle that apparently no one can score on, and they're just stomping mud holes in people. Apparently it is that easy.
I can't really wrap my head around them winning 2 straight titles with all 12 wins coming by not just double digits, but they're winning by an average of 25 points per game, dude.
With a team that, when it's all said and done, probably won't have a single player that you will remember or will go on to do anything of real note. But I guess that's kind of UConn-esque. When you go back and look at their 5 other titles, I mean, you got Kemba Walker, I guess Shabazz Napier that led him the one year.
Kemba Walker, he had a pretty special tournament.
Yeah, he did, but it's really not a group that's been just loaded with first round NBA talent.
And the other thing about it is Hurley, I mean, he wasn't doing that much at UConn. His record was 16-17 in his first year.
Yeah.
19-12, then he went 15-8 COVID year, and then 23-10, and lost in the first round, and boom!
Now
they've won 10 straight tournament games, all by double digits.
Yeah,
what the hell?
Well, and it's weird that in a lot of places you would think that that start, especially at a place like UConn that has expectations, you wonder after those 3 seasons. He had only made the tournament one of those, and he was bounced in the first round. Do you think going into that next season where he went 23-10, was there any pressure on him at all? It's not like he was a big proven guy, because before that he was at Rhode Island?
Was that where he was?
Yeah, I think he came from Rhode Island.
I didn't even know there was another Hurley brother.
Yeah, he was the coach at Rhode Island.
All right, well, he's doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, he is.
I'm having trouble understanding how they're doing that, because I've just sat and watched Kansas with elite talent struggle every damn year. I mean, it just makes no sense. And I'm pissed about it. And I want them to lose.
I don't think it's going to happen. Just in case you keep saying that it's going to happen, and you keep being like, well, there's no way
it can't be this easy.
Apparently it can.
I guess it is. I guess it is. What's the spread on the Alabama game?
11.5.
Is it double digits?
Yeah, I'll double check. One's 9.5, one's 11.5. I have to make sure which is which.
By the way, I looked at the 247 recruiting rankings, and then again, it's early, but this upcoming year, Duke is 1, Kentucky, Arizona. Where UConn is
In terms of
recruiting ranking.
number,
Yeah.
I don't
where
know,
they put
30, 40 or
them. Yeah,
something.
they're 29th.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Maybe Hurley's a genius.
That's
yeah,
not-
UConn 11.5-point favorites over Bama.
That's all, huh? They can't make those spreads high enough.
no.
Why is that not higher?
Well, I mean, they made it like 9 against Illinois, and you were like,
They beat it by 25.
I know, and you were like, I'll take that all day.
I would have.
Well,
I liked it. I liked the matchup for Illinois.
yeah, turns out you were wrong.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, they're just out there getting drilled. I mean, they're just crushing people. And I don't, but now apparently, Dan Hurley wants to do that. No one believes in us. It's us against
them
the world.
them against the world. Okay,
Yes,
Dan.
Yes.
Well, you kind of is. We hate you. So,
I don't hate UConn.
I do.
I'm
over it.
I'm just fascinated by what they're doing. And when we're going to talk about UConn the same way we talk about Duke or Kansas or any of these other teams, because at this point, you should probably consider UConn one of those teams.
Well, the other game, you're right, is much more interesting.
Yes.
And it was cool to see Duke lose, although they got lucky, dude. Shed getting hurt for Houston.
Yeah.
That was so massive. That changed everything.
Bad break. For
I think Houston was going to win that game with him.
They were. Duke wasn't. I mean, Duke barely beat him anyway.
Yeah.
Even with Shed out.
I just appreciated the fact that North Carolina State did us all a favor, and with Filipowski and his dumbass fouling out, and then Duke going down. Duke may be less hateable than ever, but it was still nice for a country to exhale, especially with an in-state rival.
I'm sorry, I do not find them less hateable. I think Filipowski,
Yeah.
he is quintessential Duke douche.
Why is it that Duke just gets the same archetype of player?
I don't know.
Well, aren't they supposed to be getting that Cooper Flag kid too?
Yeah.
It's
Who's
just
like the same thing?
It's the smart kids.
Yeah,
They always have one or two.
Is there a dum-dum somewhere? Like, who's the dumbest kid that goes to Duke? There has to be one, right? Has to be like one idiot.
Can I also offer up that John Shires, you heard it here first. If he stays as their coach for a long time, he is going to be at Coach K levels of obnoxiousness. He's already like that.
It's climbing. He just needs to
he's
win a
that
dash.
guy.
Yeah.
He's like the white Duke kid that you hate. He was the player, and now he's the coach, and he's kind of, I don't know.
I appreciate that.
He was a little floor slappery when he played, so
Yes.
Yeah,
he's hateable.
I appreciate that you haven't let your hatred of Duke wane. I like that.
I thoroughly
That's
enjoyed them losing.
I think
because
we all did.
Burns is great.
Yeah.
And 2, because I thought they got lucky with the Shed injury.
Yeah.
And they didn't look that great. So then to see NC State take them down, and Burns, that kid is fun to watch.
He is, and he's great in interviews. He's got a big personality. He's like the anti Zach Edey. Like, everyone hates that guy all of a sudden for some unknown reason, and Burns is like the exact opposite.
He's like America's favorite in this tournament.
It's because he's a fat guy. As Americans,
and they're an 11 seed.
I still think it's because he's fat. If
Well,
he played,
it helps that he's on an underdog squad too.
There is nothing that America loves more than the fat kid, because it gives that every dumbass that's at home right now shoving a double-decker KFC sandwich in his pie hole and hasn't seen his toes in 6 years. He's like, see, you may not like it, but that's peak athletic male performance right there. We love the big fat guy.
Well, he's great.
He's got great feet.
And his game is how would you describe his game?
It's like incredibly skilled below the rim game.
I heard someone, it might have been, who said this? God, I want to give
Charles
credit.
Barkley.
I remember someone said
Tim Donaghy.
His game is very similar to Jokic's.
Billy Idol.
It doesn't really look fast, but the footwork is so quick and efficient.
The passing vision's
and
really
the
good.
passing vision, it's like
a little Jokic-y.
Yeah, it's like a below the rim, shorter, chubbier Jokic.
Well, I heard a quote from him specifically that said, I grew up loving Hakeem Olajuwon and what he did, but God bless me with Zach Randolph's body, so I'm working with it.
Yeah. Well, but that does a disservice to Zach, because Zach wasn't muscular, but dude, Zach wasn't 3 spins. I love how they list him at 270, by the way. Dude, you're 6'8", that's 270. Nice try, my friend. I don't think so.
And he was a transfer?
Put both feet on the scale and then we'll see. Oh, where did he transfer in from?
I was asking you.
I can't say that I know.
Yeah, because the only way I know that is he was talking about it in his press conference. Like, I didn't even know if I was going to come here.
He's old.
He's
from
like Winthrop.
Winthrop.
He started at Tennessee 2 years, and then 2 years at Winthrop, or 3 years at Winthrop, and now NC State.
Well, as amazing and hard to wrap our head around what UConn is doing, as amazing as that is, it's equally stunning that NC State has done what they've done.
Yes, because they were not going to the NCAA tournament. In the semifinals of the ACC tournament, where they won 5 games in 5 days, they were playing Virginia. They were down by 3 with 5 seconds left, fouled Virginia. An 87% free throw shooter for Virginia went to the line. He makes 1 and the game's over.
And he hadn't missed both in a 2 free throw set all season.
My man chumps both. Then North Carolina gets the ball with like 3 seconds left, hightail it down, and throw up a desperation 3 that banks in to send it to overtime, then win in overtime to go to the ACC final. Win, where they beat, was that Carolina that they knocked off? In that one?
That sounds right.
Who did they beat? I know they beat North Carolina in the ACC tournament. I'm just not certain if that was the championship game.
I don't remember if it was them or not.
But they win the championship, punch their ticket, and now here they are in the Final Four. If my man makes 1 free throw for Virginia, it's over.
And that's part of a 5 wins in 5 night stretch because they didn't get a bye.
Yep.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So what's more improbable, what UConn is doing or what NC State has
what
done?
NC State has done. Like UConn has been the best team all year. They just have. They've lost 3 times. They're crushing people. They're defending champs. Going into the tournament, anyone that you listened to that had actually watched college basketball that was an expert all said the same thing. The best team in the tournament, bar none, is UConn. Said anything can happen, but that is the best team. There is no weakness. And so that it shouldn't be a shocker that the team that everyone said that is the number 1 team is boat racing people. But for North Carolina State to be here, come on. That's the one that just makes no sense at all. And by the way, they're an 11 seed. An 11 seed has never won a national championship before.
No, they have the most losses for a Final Four team ever. They have 14. And this is their first Final Four trip since 1983 with Jimmy V.
Yeah. And by the way, that was North Carolina. That their arch rival, a number 1 seed that they knocked off in the ACC title game after beating Virginia in a game that they had no business winning.
Meanwhile,
and by the way, the team that they beat in the second round of the ACC tournament was Duke. I mean, they beat.
So they've had to beat Duke twice in 3 weeks to do this.
They beat Louisville, Syracuse, then beat Duke, then beat Virginia, that freaky overtime game, then beat North Carolina.
So did they play Duke 4 times this year, or did they only meet them once in the regular season?
Let's go back and...
I bet they got them twice in the regular season and then twice more in the postseason.
Well, there's like 25 teams in the ACC.
I
now,
know,
so
there's a lot.
I would
That's true.
imagine they only played
But
once.
being more natural rivals and their schools being so close, I would think maybe they'd get the double
I'm
treatment.
scrolling here, and it only looks like they had them. It looks like they just had them the one time.
By the way, learning that DJ Burns plays 4 different instruments.
What instruments?
The stand-up bass, the tuba, the piano, and the saxophone.
Of course, the big guy plays the tuba. And by the way, when you look at the photos from Winthrop, he wasn't that big. I feel like the cooking at North Carolina State is slightly better than what he had going at Winthrop. So yes, they beat Duke 3 times this year. Or I guess they played Duke. The first time, Duke got him 79-64. They shouldn't be here.
As for Purdue, this is their first trip to the Final Four since 1980. As a matter of fact, that predates Gene Katie.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time for that program.
Well, and the one about Purdue is there, I'll ask you this, is there a better program? Because Purdue has consistently been good for decades. Is there a better program that's consistently good that's never made a Final Four?
That's never?
That's never. Well, I mean, in modern times, it's been 44 years. But those Gene Katie teams were good. And like they have been consistently good. Purdue is always good. They really haven't had big drop-offs.
It's surprising it's been that many years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another program that hasn't. Yeah. That's pretty good.
Like, this is a cool story. And it was a number 1 seed last year, and they lose to a 16 in Fairleigh Dickinson, and now no one believes in them. You want to do the chip on the shoulder thing. And, they come back, and here they are in the Final Four. That's a cool redemption story. Getting embarrassed as a 1 seed losing to Fairleigh Dickinson, a play-in team, that's...
Well, Virginia did that too, right? Virginia lost in the first round to a 16, and then the next year won the tournament.
Was it a 16 that they lost to?
Yeah, they were
the
the only
Long Beach, whatever.
They were the only two, Virginia and Purdue, to lose
Well, that's pretty cool then.
And it's kind of interesting. Virginia ended up winning the title the next year, and Purdue's now in the Final Four the next year.
Knocking on the door.
So that's all it takes. So yes, I know what you're going to ask. As a Kansas fan, I would sacrifice the 116 upset if it meant a title the next season. I would do that.
You would do it.
Let's do that.
I'm looking through. So if you had to go back, so the last time
we're turning off.
See, at this point in time, it's not even that bad if you're the 16 that lose. Someone else has already broken the dam. Like, you don't have to be the one that carries that thing. 2 teams have done it. Whatever. You can go back and win the title next year.
That's true. Very true.
Like, I'm looking here going back to 1980. It looks like they've only missed the NCAA tournament like 5 or 6 times since 1980.
And they cannot get to the Final Four.
Can't get to the Final Four. Yeah. I mean, and one of those years is COVID, so I limited. I just looked through their history.
Wow.
And yeah, because Gene Cady took over in 1981. And by the way, 2 of those were his first 2 years they went to the NIT. And they went to the finals.
He took over the year after they went to the Final Four. A year after they went to the Final Four.
They go in 79.
Well, it said 80.
Oh, yeah. So he took over he took over the year after.
And then never got there.
Nope, never got there. I mean, just lots of NCAA tournaments, some Sweet 16s, and there's an Elite 8 in there, a couple Sweet 16s, another Elite 8, but yeah, never a Final Four.
Well,
but they have consistently been a 20-plus win team for all those years. So, and Painter's won 30 games. He went 30-7 in 2017, and they had Robbie Hummel and those guys. It's a good team.
I will be pulling for NC State, but then if Purdue wins, I'm all in on Purdue. I could care less about Alabama, and of course, I want UConn to lose.
Yeah, well, I'm going all in on Purdue,
even over NC State, huh?
Well, I'm afraid if I told you the BTJ has informed me that we have to root for Purdue, and it's no coincidence that I have yet another black eye. So I just would like to state for the record, I am pulling for Purdue.
He's beating you into submission.
Well, I fell down some stairs again, and I've been told to watch what I say, and go Purdue.